ESPN Ringside posts the official statement by the CEO of Golden Boy Promotions Oscar de la Hoya regarding the company's split with Canelo Alvarez. The lawsuit was resolved to everyone's satisfaction and we wish Canelo the best going forward. In the strong partnership with DAZN we will continue showcasing our whole array of talent, including rising superstars like Ryan Garcia, Jaime Munguia, and Virgil Ortiz Jr. All who have the talent and potential to become the next biggest star in our sport. Via Oscar de la Hoya. The Canelo Con. For the sake of argument, let's suppose the proposition coming from the Canelo camp is true. I'm one of the rare few who believes that Caleb Plant will beat Canelo Alvarez handily and the victory will be regarded as far more clear-cut. Especially without the influential corrupt Golden Boy Promotions sinister agents moving behind the scenes to ensure another unconvincing Canelo victory fraught with controversy. So in a sense, this fight would be a dumb move for Canelo and I fervently doubt he'll take it. Therefore, setting the usual and typical proclamations based in false perceptions of Mexican machismo aside, let's examine the traits and trends of the Canelo media machine under the guise of being the so-called #1 pound-for-pound fighter according to Golden Boy's media machine The Ring magazine. We'd expect there to be the usual irrational requests from Canelo in an attempt to use his A-side status to a point of diva overkill, hence Caleb Plant will reject Canelo's typically loaded dice bad faith negotiations, which could be further complicated and likely conflated by the status of the WBC's franchise belt at 160 and the supposed freedom it allows the holder. So I doubt Canelo really wants this fight. He'll use the publicity to gain traction as a free agent, claim it all fell apart due to Caleb Plant's implied intransigence as Plant, rightfully and dutifully, and characteristically uncompromisingly, defends his right to be treated as a real champion and a force to be reckoned with at 168 pounds, all this, to the utter chagrin of Canelo nut huggers all over boxing social media. The impression having been created to Canelo's benefit, Canelo will leave in a pretentious huff and go back to the original plan of fighting Yildirim, for David Benavidez's stripped WBC belt at 168. Anyone who thinks that Canelo, the WBC franchise champion with all the protection afforded by that status will pass up on the opportunity to go for the WBC belt at 168 in favor of the IBF belt is sadly mistaken. ESPN Ringside posts these rather straightforward yet historically unreliable statements by top-rank CEO Bob Arum regarding Terence Crawford's next opponent presumably after Crawford's fight against Kell Brook set for the 17th of this month. The fight is going to be, as far as I can control things, we're not going to fool around, it's going to be Manny Pacquiao or Errol Spence. Bob Arum on Terence Crawford's next opponent via Cameron Wolfe.
Well, Pacquiao then Spence. I say Pacquiao because, he don't have that much longer in the sport, and I would want that name on my resume. And Spence because, that's the fight that everybody want to see.
Picture of Deontay the Bronze Bomber Wilder to his fans. as he writes in the aftermath of the election, that he is riding in a 64 Impala SS, listening to the sounds in the streets as the cars honk their horn and people gather together to make a joyful noise into the universe as victory is celebrated. A new beginning has begun. I suppose he must have been edging his bets all the time when he was sort of like leaning towards Trump. Now that Trump's out of office, oh, a new beginning has begun and blah blah blah. I mean, this whole thing with the universe. But I tell you what though, it's a lovely picture. Let me not put it down. It's a lovely picture, it's very artistic. I like when people do things like that, regardless of what I might think about them. As they say, it is nothing more than a genetic fallacy. That being said, there's something else that I want to sort of touch upon. I am a bit concerned with the response that Tyson Fury has given to the allegations being made by Deontay Wilder. The reason being this: I think he's been a little bit too nonchalant and laissez-faire, not laissez-faire, a little bit too nonchalant about the whole thing, which seems to sort of be a red flag for me. You can look at it both ways. You could say like maybe he's just decided not to entertain it. He's decided not to entertain it, not to give it more traction than it needs, but it's already gained traction. We're way past that already. I'm looking at the response now, and I believe that the response has to be a little bit stronger, and I'm not getting that from this guy, which suggests to me that there might be something there. Now, I'm not saying that the people who are coming up with these conspiracy theories are right, but I am sort of, because listen, we are dealing with Tyson Fury here anyway, and I'm looking at his response. The first thing that bothered me is the fact that it's taken this long for him to come out, and when he does come out and say something, and I mean, I'm talking in the aftermath of Deontay Wilder himself saying something. All he says is he's lost his marbles. Well, come on, listen. That's that Rebecca shit, where you try to gaslight somebody and make him seem crazy. Okay? It should have been a stronger response where you are totally insulted by the mere suggestion. Yeah, so according to Mike Coppinger sources, Gennady Golovkin's title defense against Kamil Shemeta is being targeted for December 18 or December 19 in the US on DAZN. Once the streaming service finally sorts this out for Triple G, he can look to marquee fights in the spring of 2021. So I wonder, did anybody else roll their eyes when during a recent interview with Deontay the Bronze Bomber Wilder, he spoke a bit about the situation with Dillian Whyte and the WBC, and he suggested that he had told Dillian Whyte to fight Luis Ortiz. Did anybody else roll their eyes like, oh, for fuck's sake, not the Luis Ortiz argument again, for crying out loud? Like, I still talk about Luis Ortiz. So, you know what? Luis Ortiz, when you think about it, when you really break it down, the truth of the matter is, what's really embarrassing about that argument is this. Is that Luis Ortiz happens to be, whether we like it or not, Luis Ortiz happens to be Deontay Wilder's biggest and best win. Luis Ortiz, who just defeated Alexander Flores. And if you see that fight, fucking, you know, it's even worse when there's no crowd. When there's no crowd to a Luis Ortiz fight, it's even more decrepit. It's even worse than, well, all the other fights he had before he fought Deontay the Bronze Bomber Wilder. But that being said, he won this fight. It was I watched a bit of it. I had to think, oh, you know what? I don't think I ever want to see this guy again. I think, you know, it's easy money, fair enough, but I don't know why
even if I was Deontay Wilder, I'd be a bit embarrassed holding up Luis Ortiz as the pearl in my crown jewel or something. Something worthy of holding up, to be respected, because he has nothing. He has nothing except those 2 losses against you. That's it.
Now, I'm not sure about Joshua Greer Jr., but in the case of Elvis Rodriguez, I think this is a quick turnaround, isn't it? I think that
he was in a fight just recently. If I think less than 4 weeks ago. I'm probably being excessive there. Could be 2 or 3 weeks ago. But anyway, he's back in the ring November 14th. All right, next week I suppose. And so is Joshua Greer. I can't remember the last time he was in the ring. I don't know much about this gentleman here. Raymond Muratalla. I have heard of this one, Duke Ragan. And Tyler Howard. Don't know much about. Middleweight. Junior middleweight. Junior welterweight, forgive me. Junior welterweight. And bantamweight. All right. I don't see many people talking about junior welterweight. You know what I mean? All right. But there you go.
Дмитрий, добрый день. Задайте вопросы чемпиона для наших подписчиков и ваших болельщиков.
Вопрос-загадка, да, такой же, который тебе загадывали. Какой удар жестче, боковой? Горизонтальный или вертикальный? Какой?
Hello to everybody, the one and only Floyd Money Mayweather. I am Mastery Academy. I want to say thank you for what you all have taught me. Chris Terry, thank you. Isis, thank you for teaching me about different digital skill sets. This is the future.